Hey guys, welcome to Collider Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm your host, Ashley Mova, and this is the daily show where we give you all the latest news from the world of movies, plus some insight into what it all means. Leading off the show today is Mark Ellis.
Welcome one and all to the best movie news show in the entire galaxy. My name is Mark. We hope you all had a terrific weekend. And yes, this is a show where we talk about movies, and sometimes the best thing about this show is that it gets to be a distraction from everything going on in the rest of the world. But we don't live in a bubble here. We do not turn a blind eye to what's going on in the rest of the world. And we do express our deepest sympathies and sorrow to everyone involved in the tragic mass shooting that took place last night in Las Vegas that left over 50 people dead and 400 wounded. We've all been to Las Vegas. We all had a great time there. And I know you guys tune in to watch a show where we just talk about movies and nothing else. But we love you guys. We are so grateful that you guys come here and watch us every day for whatever reason that you do come, for your entertainment, to yell at us, to comment. This is Movie Talk. We're going to get to a show about movies, but we are thinking about you. We offer sometimes a very hollow sentiment as thoughts and prayers, but that's all we have right now, and hopefully we can do more. And all of our fans in Las Vegas, if you were at the concert last night or you're just watching the news along with everybody else, we're all thinking about you right now, and we will do our best to do a great show where we do talk about movies. Ashley, who's joining me today on the panel?
Also here is Dennis Zen.
Yeah, hearing about that last night, it was pretty horrific news. It's still hard to even digest all of this stuff, but our thoughts are out to Las Vegas.
Yeah, so sad. Also here, Perri Nemiroff.
Yeah, I'm going to echo what both Ellis and Dennis said. Thoughts and prayers out to everybody affected. And, you know, just be kind. Think about the good things in your life, the loved ones in your life, and appreciate that in these kinds of times.
Also here, Jon Schnepp.
Yeah, definitely. We were all talking about it right when we got into the pre-production meeting. It's a shocking thing. It was horrible to watch the events unfold in real time. Right before a lot of people like myself were watching it right as we were getting ready to go to sleep and like seeing the horror. So definitely reach out to all of your friends and family, and you know our thoughts are with you. So
in the moment, I always think about the first responders and everybody who's on the scene right away to do whatever they can. I think about the people who hopefully are no longer politicians today, but they're simply the leaders that we elected them to be. And in the future, maybe we all have some sort of opportunity to help contribute in our own small way. But until that time does come, it's time for Movie Talk. And something else that I did want to acknowledge before we get on to our beautiful rundown here today is that this past weekend, I had the pleasure of being up in Northern California and just wanted to once again thank Josh and Amanda Makuga for a great time at their wedding. Our boy Joshy, the wild man, finally got married. Congratulations, Mr. Makuga. A great time was had by all. A hell of a job officiating the wedding by Ken Knapsack. So it was a big Collider party up north in California. Have fun in Italy, kids. All right, let's move on to our first official topic of the day. Ashley, what are we talking about?
Late last week, Vulture ran an interview with Diane Nelson and Geoff Johns of DC Entertainment. When discussing continuity from film to film, John said, "The movie's not about another movie. Some of the movies do connect the characters together like Justice League. But like with Aquaman, our goal is not to connect Aquaman to every movie." Some interpreted that as a plan to veer away from strict continuity within the DCEU. When one fan said to Johns on Twitter, "Please keep the universe connected," Johns replied, "It 100% is." Mark, are you happy to hear that the DCEU films are indeed 100% connected?
Sure, Ashley. I mean, it makes me feel really good to know that when I'm watching one movie, it's going to have something of a factor into other future movies. But I do, and look, Perri and I talked about this at the pre-production meeting. I'm not trying to stir a pot here. I'm not trying to say that any shots were fired at that other company that makes a whole lot of comic book movies that are interconnected. But it was interesting to hear a quote where he said, "The movie's not about another movie." And sometimes we do tend to get like that, where we see one piece in Thor, where it's like, oh my God, was that Hawkeye? Now we're talking Justice, or now we're talking Avengers. I think that this is cool. I like that they're focusing on making a movie and not necessarily an interconnected universe. As much as fans may want to say, oh yeah, well, how does this Justice League impact the future standalone movies and all that stuff? You're making films the right way, Schnepp. I mean, if you're a creative person, you want to have all the right in the world to focus on this movie that you're making and not 100 other movies that may be coming down the pipe. But I don't know that Geoff Johns' comments still really cleared up a whole lot of issues that people have with all these other movies that may involve DC characters that are going to be taking place in other worlds.
Well, I think the easiest way to look at it is, I think what he was trying to say earlier last week with Diane Nelson is that, look, Shazam is going to be a Shazam movie. It's not going to have like a bunch of little Easter eggs that you have to have seen the other movies, and they're not going to try to tie in other films in the future with Shazam, but they're probably going to reference Batman and Superman as part of that universe, because it is going to be taking place in the DC universe. Now we've heard it's not even called the extended universe. That was just made up by some reporter. So that's not even real anymore. I mean, we've been calling it the DCEU for months, and it's because some guy just tagged it, and everybody was like, that sounds cool. DC was like, we never said that. So it's very confusing overall on every level. But I think it's great. I would like to see standalone films. I don't need to see Easter eggs for all these other films, but to know that they exist in the same universe is cool, and I'm glad that he cleared that up.
Perri, do you see that these quotes by Geoff Johns as lending some sort of clarity to what we have in the DC movies, or do you think that it just adds more rain clouds?
I was sure you were going to ask me if it was shots fired directly at Marvel.
You tell me right now.
Just to react to that, I don't think it was a direct reference to Marvel at all. And actually, I think that Marvel does it better than most franchises we have. I think the worst offender I could think of right now is something like The Mummy, where so much of that movie was clearly made to service a cinematic universe that didn't even exist. That's where it's a problem, and I think their approach to at least de-emphasizing is probably gonna make it better off for all the other films, because if you're not so focused on planting little seeds for future movies, and a movie can function as an entertaining experience in and of itself, then all of a sudden you also give your filmmakers more creative freedom to make it their own thing. So I think this can only help now I'm afraid to call it the DCEU, but I think this is going to be much better off now.
Don't call it DCEU. It's officially not the DCEU.
Well, what's the
DC
cool
Warner
little,
Brother films.
abbreviation that we can use now?
DCFU? DC Film Universe?
Oh, I thought you were going to say another.
No, what are you guys? What are you talking about? No, so that's what they said.
That's it. If Dennis, when they just go off the rails and start yelling at all the fans, they just call it the DCFU. Do you think that this is maybe a course correction from how DC movies had been viewed?
Yes, definitely. And despite all of the confusion, this is actually good news, because they're going to now focus on what Perri says on the actual movie itself and not being worried about trying to connect it with everything else. And it helped that Wonder Woman made so much money, because Wonder Woman, if you watch the movie, like they have those little two bookends to where it's like the present day. Other than that, it doesn't really connect me. That one photograph that had been planted in Batman v Superman, that was kind of the only really touching point from that film. But that movie made all that money, and it didn't have much connection with like Justice League or any type of future DC whatever we're gonna call the universe movies. I think Marvel actually had one hiccup with Iron Man 2. I think that's where they learned their lesson, because that movie was purely trying to serve the rest of their cinematic universe. That didn't get such a great response from critics and fans, and so they course corrected. I think with the DC universe, hopefully they do the same.
Yeah, I mean, and we heard the comments from Joss Whedon after Avengers Age of Ultron had come and gone, where he mentioned he was a little frustrated with Marvel because he had to put in some scenes that he didn't necessarily think belonged in the movie. The Thor time machine, the hot tub where he goes crazy, and then it's like, no, that's gonna pretend to something going on in a later movie. So I think that with DC, I think that Schnepp, they still want to be careful about not having to retcon anything outright later, but it's just like we're not going to focus on putting in this extra scene or this post-credit scene just to serve another movie.
Yeah, I think, I don't want to see Wonder Woman 2 taking place in a different universe. I would like to see it, whether Justice League is good or bad. I want Aquaman and Wonder Woman to be part of that same universe. I'd like to see a second Superman movie set in this same universe. I don't need a new Superman. I know they're doing the Scorsese Joker, there's I even say why, but whatever, it's like, I'd like to see Superman Red Son. I'd like to see some of the Elseworlds movies. I'd like to see that, if that's what they're talking about. Like, they're going to make other separate DC superhero films in a pocket universe, but I'd rather they just concentrate on getting their films right, you know? And if they're all taking place in the same universe, I can't wait to see Aquaman. I don't need to see all the other characters or tidbits about everything else. Yeah, I just want to see an Aquaman movie. It doesn't have to tie in with everything. So I get what they're saying. I just want them to stay that course.
Yeah, in physiological terms, connective tissue is great, but let's just start building some hurting pounds right now and see how Justice League is come November. All right, Ashley, what's our next story?
Deadline has some good news and some bad news for Men in Black fans. Sony Pictures has fast-tracked a spin-off, giving it a May 17, 2019 release date, but it looks like both Tommy Lee Jones and Will Smith aren't expected to return. Now, as for the plan to turn this next Men in Black movie into an MIB 21 Jump Street mashup, well, apparently that idea remains in development, but it's this new spin-off that will take priority. The studio is busy meeting with top directors and expects to lock one down soon. Schnepp, do you think this Men in Black spin-off has potential, or would you rather see that Men in Black 21 Jump Street crossover?
You know, I want to see MIB 23. I still want to see that because that sounded, at first when we first heard about that, it was just a rumor, and then the people were working on the script, and it's like, that would be fun. But yeah, I'm totally down with seeing a reboot of Men in Black. I think the third one kind of was the death knell of whatever that iteration of Men in Black was. So I think the idea is still really cogent. It's great. I'd like to see a new team. But I don't think a reboot is necessary. I think it's just a new, you know, M and S. You know, just give them different letters and just, you know, don't get rid of the original guys. They just moved on, you know.
You know, I love Will Smith and I love Tommy Lee Jones. I love them in their roles in Men in Black. I could not be more thrilled to hear that they're not going to have anything to do with more Men in Black movies because I hated Men in Black 3. I could not stand it, and I think that it just showed how long in the tooth and tired the franchise had become. But I'm with Schnepp. I love the premise of Men in Black. I think it's such a great, it's such a rich, fertile ground to mine both comedic and sci-fi elements from. So I want to see something like that. I just worry, Perri, that Sony is trying to reboot a lot of stuff right now.
I know.
They have a Charlie's Angels reboot that they're also working on. So it's like they're taking any property that they have or can get their hands on from the last 30 years that had some modicum of success and is like, okay, this is what we can take into the next world because it did work with 21 Jump Street. And now it's like, well, they want to do a 21 Jump Street Men in Black mashup, which I might have been in the minority on this. I actually think that's a good risk to take because if it doesn't work out, what did you lose? You lost nothing. You took a shot. You can come back and then make them two separate universes. It's not going to be like comic book fans when they're like, but what about that other movie? Nobody's going to care. With the Men in Black now trying to do its own spinoff, and then maybe that ties into 21 Jump Street, is this too much, or do you think it's actually the right way to go about the reboot?
I was more excited about the idea of it crossing over with 21 Jump Street because that just seemed so crazy and so unusual that at least it made it feel a little fresh because I like the Men in Black premise too, but I kind of grew tired of it, especially after number 3. I didn't really walk out of that movie wanting another one. And really, I think the only reason that I was intrigued about getting another movie was because of being able to picture Jonah Hill and Channing Tatum as those characters in the black suits. And now that that's gone, I don't know if I love the idea so much, and I don't have all that much faith in it. And sadly, it's also kind of because of Sony, and that's coming from someone who thought that the last Ghostbusters movie was fine.
Yeah, me too.
I don't think we needed it, maybe, but I had enough fun with it. However, they're also responsible for the one that comes to mind is Flatliners with Sony and Screen Gems.
Did you end up seeing Flatliners?
I did see Flatliners.
I was gonna
that
see it
review is
last
up on
night
the
and then-
channel right now. You saved yourself some
I heard
good
it's bad.
time in your life.
I heard it's literally it's just not worth even thinking about.
That's the saddest thing about it is it's pointless. To me, it's one of those perfect examples of this is why we shouldn't just keep abusing old things that were once successful years and years ago, because that doesn't mean it's going to be good now, especially if you make a crappy movie out of it.
Dennis, it's odd to hear from both me and Perri that we're a little disappointed that Channing Tatum and Jonah Hill are not going to be in a new Men in Black reboot as soon as they thought they would be. How does this news hit you?
Well, I'm with you guys. The only interest I haven't seen in a new Men in Black film is with the 21 Jump Street
I didn't
guys.
realize that was such a popular sentiment. I thought I was the only one.
No, because to me, I enjoyed the first Men in Black, but I just have no interest in seeing a new one. I don't see anyone clamoring for it. And what I don't understand is if they are doing a spin-off, doesn't it make sense that they wouldn't feature Tommy Lee Jones and Will Smith? Because wouldn't that just be Men in Black 4 and not a spinoff? That does, I don't know. So I just don't hear anyone asking for a Men in Black movie other than the 21 Jump Street crossover.
Yeah, I remember when the first Men in Black came out, and it was just such a fun movie. It was such a different thing than we had seen before. Ashley, I want to throw it to you too. Do you think that would you rather, as an audience member, would you rather see just a totally new Men in Black movie with different agents, or do you think that we should have some sort of crossover with the current 21 Jump Street franchise?
I would love a mashup, Jonah Hill and Channing Tatum, but you've got to have Will Smith in there at some point giving a one-liner like, oh, there's Will Smith, like, you know, a cameo or something. So to hear that he wouldn't be a part of that, I don't know how I feel about that.
I can never refuse Will Smith in anything. I really can't. He could be somebody, like, he could be crashing at my place, and I hate when people come over in general, as Dennis knows. I just don't like having people at my house. But Will Smith, you can stay as long as you need to. I'm a huge fan of yours, buddy. All right, we're going to move on to the box office, and I'm just going to warn you guys ahead of time that Ashley's going to do a read, and this is a live read. However, we literally just got information that are updated box office numbers. So, Ashley, you're going to do the read, and you're going to do a damn good job of it, and then I might correct you.
Okay. This weekend at the box office, we had a very tight race between Kingsman: The Golden Circle, It, and newcomer American Made for the top spot. According to Deadline, Monday morning estimates give the win to Kingsman: The Golden Circle with $16.975 million, followed by It at number 2 with $16.93 million, and then American Made at number 3 with $16.758 million. Perri, thoughts on the weekend box office?
I just find it funny that none of those estimates turned out to be right.
Ashley, in the graphics, face yo.
Yeah. I mean, but that is the game you play when you go from weekend estimates to actuals. And these aren't even actuals. These are just the next stage of estimates that the studios and the distributors are reporting in right now. But I really just think no matter who wins, obviously I care a little more. I'm rooting harder for It and American Made than I was for Kingsman. But how cool is it that we're finishing September so strong with 3 films vying for that top spot, especially when American made more money than I thought it would. Kingsman 2 dropped less than I thought it would, and It is obviously just making a whole ton of money. So this is just good news for the industry overall, and I'm really happy for that. And you know, same thing for Lego Ninjago, too. It didn't have the best start, and it's still well under the previous Lego movies, but at least it only dropped. I think it was somewhere in the 40% range, which is nice. And, you know, then you got Flatliners down there. I had a feeling. That it didn't have enough competition for that number 5 spot to completely push it off this really pretty graphic behind me, but it happens. That's pretty much what happens when you have I'm not giving the fact that it's a remake. It has, you know, Flatliners as a name as the reason it took that spot, but it does have a horror-like quality. And, you know, when there's not all that much competition in that It is already in its 4th weekend out, I believe, you know, it had the opportune moment to kind of slip in there and actually make it on the charts.
Yeah, I look at this top 5 like a great starting 5 in basketball, where everybody got to score some points here, and even Flatliners hit a bucket or 2. They got their name in the paper. Dennis, you got 3 movies that are all very different audiences. I think that you have a horror movie, you have like a fantastical comic book, and then maybe the more based on a true story, and Tom Cruise never hurts with selling a movie. Is there one of these movies in particular that you're actually excited about how it performed, or are you most excited about the fact that coming in at number 31 was the Pearl Jam documentary Let's Play 2, making $55,000 on just 5 screens?
Yeah, I'm super excited about that. With it's still a juggernaut. So is it American Made that took the first spot?
American Made actually ended up being 3rd now.
So okay.
Kingsman. Yeah,
okay.
because Ashley saw that graphic and she's like, not in my dojo.
I love how the second we
today.
close out this show, that ranking is going to change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, for American Made, like, it's a Tom Cruise film, but I feel like his movies are being affected by his previous 2 movies. So instead of like the Marvel Cinematic Universe where they're like, you're watching the next like Thor or Captain America, it's like Tom Cruise. People didn't really care for The Mummy. People didn't really care for Jack Reacher 2. So he kind of needs. I haven't seen the movie yet, but I heard a lot of good buzz about this film. So I think this film actually got hurt by his previous films.
Yeah, I think what American Made can rest its laurels on is that it wasn't trying to be like another Mission Impossible. This was actually much more of a positioning for Tom Cruise to get some Academy Award or, award season recognition. I don't know that it's going to happen. He's great in the movie. But, Schnepp, you, like Perri, went to the movies this weekend, and Perri saw Flatliners, and needless to say, she was not enthused. You had a double feature, and at least one of those movies had to entertain you, right?
Yes. I wasted my money on Mother and Kingsman 2. Boy, what a horrible double feature.
Ooh.
And I never thought that I would hate Kingsman 2 as much as I did, having loved the first Kingsman. It was like a different movie. It's like clown kids, like, I'm going to be James Bond Jr. and made like a goofy, oversimplified, horrible Moonraker's better than Kingsman. If you want to see a James Bond ripoff, see Moonraker, which isn't a James Bond ripoff, it's an actual James Bond, for corniness sake. That's what I mean. Kingsman 2 was too corny, and the first Kingsman wasn't. So I don't like even when people compare the two, because there's the same people, a lot of same people involved in making them, just completely. I felt like it was a different movie and not a good one. Mother, on the other hand, was even worse, and I was so disappointed. I'm one of the people who actually liked Noah, and I hated Mother. That's like, I love experimental films. I get what, and I've talked with a lot of people about this. Like, you didn't understand it. I get it. I actually got it. Thanks for, thinking I couldn't comprehend the movie, and I still didn't like it. I just think, for some people loved the allegory and the it's all kind of a dream. No spoilers. Go waste your money and see. I think I was one of the $1.5 million that it made this weekend. So it's still making money. And look, Darren Aronofsky had this story he wanted to tell. He told it. Hopefully he got it out of his system and makes another film that a lot more people like myself would enjoy. I like all of his other films. This one just didn't hit it for me. Tom Cruise on cocaine, not really interested in seeing it. I'm going to go see it again. And I did see Tommy Wiseau and Greg Sestero's film at Beyond Fest, which was just incredible. And I feel like weird even saying that it's a good movie. It's actually
it
really
actually
good,
is a good movie.
It's actually, because everyone who went was expecting something like The Room. It's like giggling, and Tommy Wiseau is quite a weird guy. It's like bubbling poetry out of his strange brain, things just come out of his mouth, starts singing. That's in this new movie, but it's done in such a way. I think they wove this really kind of Lynchian, strange film. Best Friends, go see it. It comes out next year. I mean, that was my favorite film of the weekend, besides seeing, of course, Suspiria and Phantom of the Paradise. So I saw a lot of old movies and one new movie and two not-so-good movies. So
wow. Dennis, we're going to talk about our New York trip for Comic-Con later this week, a little bit later on in the show. But I do want to let you know that the Pearl Jam Let's Play 2 documentary, it's playing at a theater in Long Beach, and it's also playing at a theater in New York on Avenue of the Americas. So maybe we get everything settled Wednesday night, we can go.
Because we always have plenty of time when we do all these.
Yeah, we always have nothing but time on our hands. Yeah. Let's Play 2. Thank you, Ernie Banks, and thank you, Eddie Vedder. All right, let's move on to buy or sell. This is the part of the show. Ashley's going to give us a premise. We will say whether we buy it or sell it. Then one of us is going to win a trip to Pandora.
20th Century Fox has finally begun production on James Cameron's Avatar sequels. And to mark the occasion, they've sent out a first look photo at the sequel's new young cast members. The group includes offspring from the Sully family, James Flatters as Jake, Neytiri's firstborn son, Britton Dalton as their secondborn, and Trinity Bliss as their youngest. There's also new young freedivers from the Metkina clan, the Na'vi of the Oceans on Pandora. Cameron also revealed that Avatar 2 and 3 will be filmed together, then go into post-production sequentially, and then they'll go back to film Avatar 4 and 5. We also have a report from Deadline claiming that the budget for the films is upwards of $1 billion in total. The first Avatar sequel is slated to open on December 18th, 2020. Dennis Barsell, the new cast and details for Cameron's Avatar sequels.
I mean, with the cast picture, it's a bunch of young actors that I'm not really familiar with, so I can't really judge it on that. But with the details of who they're going to play, I'm going to buy that they're moving significantly forward in the timeline. So the movies that we're watching are much later. I mean, I didn't know it was going to go jump that much farther with Sam Worthington and Zoe Saldana's characters actually having kids. And then the tie-into, because I know James Cameron wanted this one to be about the oceans and I guess this other clan in there. So I'm going to buy it for that reasons. But I mean, $1 billion, man. That's crazy. But at the same time, I I've doubted James Cameron twice already with Titanic and Avatar in terms of like he's sinking so much money in, and those are the two highest grossing films of all time. Can he make it a third? I don't know.
It's a huge buy for me if you're asking me, does James Cameron have a promising backup career as a Tiger Beat cover photographer? This whole directing thing doesn't work out. Those kids, that's a modeling pose right there. Well done on you, Jimmy. As far as them incorporating a new cast of younger people into the Avatar stories going forward, I totally agree with Dennis. I think that's the right move. You're going to make 3 more movies in this franchise. We can't just be seeing the same people go through different adventures. I'd like to see that for a little bit, but I also want to see what happens with their families, what happens with the future of these races. To be honest with you, I don't know that much about Pandora, and what I did know, I forgot a lot about, so I have a lot of catching up to do. I think the rest of the world has a lot of catching up to do as well, especially when you factor in $1 billion, Schnepp, for 3 movies. I mean, this is 3 movies we're making here?
4.
These are 4 movies we're making. $1 billion, $250 million a pop. Is there any way that we recoup our expenses?
Sure, why not? I mean, you know, you don't bet against James Cameron. I think, you know, Escape from Avatar Mountain is what I was going to call these pictures. You know, literally, it's like this week on Disney. It just doesn't feel like Avatar. I feel like there's very weird cast photos. I feel like the new kids on them are going to break out into a music video.
Avatar, the second one ends and it's like a Shrek-like music mashup at the end.
Yeah, you know, I want Ryan Gosling to screaming about papyrus right now. That's all I can think about. So, yeah, you know, the kids look all fresh and fun. They're in some spanky new Gap clothes. I don't know what this picture means. It's like, am I on Pandora or like a secret island getaway? Like, it's great. I'm glad these kids are jumping around, swimming. You know, go to Avatar Planet 7. I don't know. You know, it's like this is so abstract to me. It's like, here's the cast. Are they all going to be blue people? Are they all going to have motion capture? Are these kids, are they actually in the movie? Or are they all like just, you know, are they avatars? So I'm very confused.
They're all just craft services. Perri, I know the first thing that you thought when you saw this picture was, man, I wonder if this cast is going to participate in a movie trivia schmodown coming up soon. How do you feel about their chances?
There were a lot of things that crossed my mind when I saw these pictures, and one was Baby Gap, another was Tiger Beat. So you got those right, but I am not thinking that these kids would be the best options for a movie trivia schmodown. I don't even know if they're the best options for an Avatar movie because, like you, Schnepp, I have no clue what these pictures are telling me. I do know that I think only that one kid crouching in that corner in the big photo, he's the only one that's going to be in human form. All the others are going to be Na'vi,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, that's why I don't really care about these pictures. I mean, right? This isn't. They're not going to show up like this in the movie.
Yeah.
This isn't really a from the set, type
So
of
what is
I
this?
guess it's just
introduction
if you're gonna
to the
even if
why
you're gonna show them like
for
this,
them.
it's you would think that they would do a better backdrop where it feels like there's one level where it's a bunch of fake plants that are really there, and then just a green screen inserted later backdrop in the background.
I think what they should do is take a space shuttle to Pandora and do the photo shoots there, and then we'll get a more better pictures.
You should direct them.
Okay.
That would solve the problems. But if I had cared a little more about Avatar at this point in my life, maybe I'd be fine with this. But I'm selling the picture because I'm still waiting for that thing that makes me buy Avatar 2 and 4 more Avatars in general, and these pictures are not going to do it.
They are not going to do it for Perri, but perhaps our next story will. I got really excited when I saw that there was a new trailer for Creed 2. And then I read it again. It's like, oh, it's not Creed 2. We got to pump the brakes on that. So what is this movie, Ashley?
The Orchard has released the first trailer for Creep 2. It's a sequel to the 2014 found footage horror film Creep, which starred Mark Duplass as an odd man named Joseph who crosses paths with a videographer answering his Craigslist ad. Patrick Bryce directed the original and returns to helm this follow-up, which stars Desiree Akhavan as a video artist who creates intimacy with lonely men by answering their online ads, and of course, she stumbles across Joseph's ad. The film will be available on all digital platforms on October 24th. Mark, do you buy or sell this Creep 2 trailer?
I do buy the trailer. I enjoyed it. I was aware of Creep. I've not seen the first Creep yet, but I'm a big fan of Mark Duplass and what his vision for projects is. Desiree's was great on Girls, so I want to see what this has to do. It does look very weird and it does look very twisted. But Perri, I don't know if you've seen the first Creep, but Mark Duplass looks really, really interesting as Joseph.
He is horrifying as Joseph. I'll never forget seeing that screening of Creep when it premiered at South by whatever year that was, because I knew nothing about the movie, and it's weird. He plays a really weird, unsettling guy, and just the way they use found footage in the movie, it was so well done. It's obviously very shaky cam because that is the style of the film, but it was just enough of that, and it worked well enough with the story that it all comes together, that even if you're one of those people, I don't want any shaky cam movies in my life, I don't want any found footage, this has something to offer. And there's also something about the first movie that says to me that it is good for a franchise as long as they build on Duplass's character a bit. But with this trailer, as a fan of the original, it made me so happy to see certain things and certain behavior repeated. And then Peach Fuzz, you'll all learn about Peach Fuzz, which is very important. I'll just let you sit with that. I'm done.
Dennis, you've been known to frequent Craigslist from time to time. You see the first Creep. What do you think of this new trailer?
No, I didn't see the first one, but actually, I'm going to buy this one. When it first started out, I was like, oh, another found footage movie, horror movie that done on the cheap. But then, I saw Mark Duplass, who I'm also a fan of from The League, and he's a busy guy. He does a ton of movies. He does a ton of television. I was kind of creeped out seeing him in this trailer because I haven't seen this side of him before. But I think I might check this out.
Jon Schnepp, Creep 2.
I liked the trailer. I saw Creep 1. I think they could make Creep 3 and 4 quite easily. I think it costs about $7 and some Red Bull, and they're like, go, go, go. It's like, all you got to have is Duplass. He's really a great actor. I wonder about how much of it is just improv, like just that last little take from Creep 2 where he's like, woo. Oh, you don't really scare that well. That's gonna, he's kind of having to rethink his whole game that he plays with people. So, yeah, I'm in.
There's occasionally you see a trailer for something and it's a sequel and you're like, I need to go back and watch the original right now. And I'm starting to get that vibe with Creep. You think I'd be in on the first Creep?
Yes.
You know my horror proclivities pretty well.
I really do.
I think you'll like it.
Yeah.
I'm in. All right, let's move on to Mailbag. But before we get to Mailbag, we do want to remind you guys that we are going to be in New York City this very weekend. We're going to be doing any and all things Comic-Con related here at Collider Video. We are going to be having some panels ourselves. Heroes, hosted by Jon Schnepp, is going to be on Friday, and then we're going to have a movie talk panel. That is going to be Saturday at 4:15. We also have a meet and greet Thursday evening at 8:30 p.m. at McSwiggan's. McSwiggan's is an important tavern to know because it's right around the corner from New York Comedy Club, where I'll be doing sets Thursday and Friday. You guys can get tickets at markellislive.com. If you use promo code Schmoes, you get some money off. Make sure you grab tickets sooner rather than later because they're about to sell out. Thank you guys for supporting me. And we are also going to let you guys know that Collider Video is going to be your one-stop shop for virtually all things New York Comic-Con related. We're going to be live streaming most of the panels, including some huge ones like the Pacific Rim 2 panel, the Punisher panel, as well as The Walking Dead, and a whole lot more. The streaming of New York Comic-Con panels is going to begin Thursday morning. That's 11 a.m. Eastern time or 8 a.m. out here on the West Coast. So make sure you guys set your alarm clocks. Last but not least, you can also go to Collider.com right now to win some free tickets to an upcoming Q&A screening we have. That's for Brawl in Cell Block 99. That screening is a movie starring Vince Vaughn, and the Q&A is also going to be featuring Vince Vaughn. You guys can get tickets and more information for the contest at Collider.com. We also have an all-new TV Talk is going to be up today at 11 a.m., and Daily Heroes is going to be up later on. And stay tuned this Friday for an all-new episode of Awesome Tacular with Jeremy Johns. You can check out the link to the latest Awesome Tacular in this vid's description right here. And Movie Talk the rest of the week, the show goes on right here from our studios in Southern California. I believe it's going to be hosted by a young man named Ken Knapsack. Is that correct?
Ken O'Reilly.
Ken O'Reilly.
Maybe they'll switch off.
One of those guys. I cannot undersell the performance of Ken Knapsack as a wedding officiator. I would look into hiring him if you have an upcoming nuptial ceremony. It was the funniest. It was the most heartfelt. It was so good. I hope somebody got it on tape. It was literally the greatest wedding ceremony I've ever seen performed. And Josh and Amanda did pretty good, too. All right, let's move on to mailbag. This is the part of the show. Ashley has something that you guys wrote us in email form. Hopefully, Ash, it is not a Craigslist ad. What is it?
No, it's not. Ivan writes, hello, Collider crew. With Disney doing live-action remakes of all of its animated classics, do you think that at one point they're going to have to move on to remaking Pixar movies? And the second part of my question, if you were to cast a live-action Woody and Buzz from Toy Story, who would you go for? My personal picks are Tom Holland as Woody and John Boyega as Buzz. Cheers, Ivan.
Ivan, I love your casting for Toy Story, but I will caution you to just think about that for a minute, because sometimes animated movies transfer very well into live action, and other times you take a premise like Toy Story, you make that live action. That's a horror movie, my brother. That is a really scary horror movie where toys come to life and they start playing when you're not in the room. That's a creep show I do not want to be involved in. I think they could start doing Pixar live action here and there. I would actually, and I'm not a fan of this movie, maybe I need to revisit it, WALL-E. I think a WALL-E could be really cool live action with like actual practical, like a little robot, as long as it doesn't look too much like Johnny Five. I think The Incredibles is something that could be a lot of fun live action. Monsters, Inc. is something that could be a hoot. Perry, do you think that we can move on to Pixar live action? And do you think Toy Story is a good call?
We need to talk about you revisiting WALL-E. You have a dog. How do you not like WALL-E?
I'm the stepfather to a dog.
Oh, man.
And what does a dog have to do with WALL-E?
It's just because WALL-E's almost like a cute companion puppy type character.
Yeah, Molly's not a loser that watches show tunes, but she's
boy.
not cleaning up garbage. She has like emotion and personality. She's not being teased by an iPod for 2 hours.
You know what? You're heartless, man. When I first read this question, I just said in my head, like, no, this can never work. And then I tried to find reasons why it couldn't work. Like, oh, there's more people characters in Disney, and no, that's not true. And then I thought to myself, oh, but inanimate objects, you can't do that. Oh, they did that in Beauty and the Beast, and no, they did that in Jungle Book. So really, they have the capability and the technology to do it where it might not look like a horror movie if they tried. So I started to have a little fun with the idea and warm up to it. I don't think I'm ready for it quite yet, but if I did get a Toy Story one, I came up with Alden Ehrenreich for Woody just because I have him and Hail Caesar ingrained in my head. And I also put maybe Miles Teller or Andrew Garfield. I think they could be a lot of fun. Okay. And for Buzz, I was trying to figure out someone like a little stockier. So I said Tom Hardy, Jack Rayner, or Makuga.
Makuga. Okay, well,
Wouldn't Makuga be a great Buzz?
You mentioned Stocky. The guy's going to be in Italy doing nothing but eating pasta for 2 weeks, so I think he can play the role of Buzz just fine. Dennis Zen, how do you feel about Pixar movies maybe becoming live action one day?
I mean, it's not a if, it's a win. I mean, they're gonna do them eventually. The reason they haven't done them yet is because it's been so close in time. I mean, if you look at the live-action movies they did do, you look at Beauty and the Beast. That was 26 years apart since the animated film came out, and we have this live-action one. Jungle Book, 49 years apart. So there still needs to be some time separation from the animated film, but it's a matter of time, 10 years, 20 years down the line, when they're going to make a live-action Toy Story. As far as his other question, I would cast Joseph Gordon-Levitt as Woody and Channing Tatum as Buzz.
There you go. I think the timeline for a live-action Toy Story, if it ever did happen, might have gotten pushed back 10 years. Because once they greenlit Toy Story 4, because don't we have to kind of let the animated version run its course, and then we have to let those memories just sit and simmer and grow fonder over time for 20 years before we can have a live-action version? Or, Schnepp, is this something that they're going to crank out 2 years after Toy Story 4?
You mean before they destroy everything they built by making a shitty live-action version of fucking Toy Story? Are you joking? It's the shittiest question. I can't even comprehend that you guys are thinking.
Not a bad
That's
question.
so dumb. It's a bunch of toys. What are you gonna have? It's like Toy Story on ice, is them dancing around like that. I'd rather see that than a live action version of something about a kid's toy chest. It's insane. Finding Nemo. What are you gonna film fish? Oh wait, let's make them CG. They're already CG. That's the whole cool thing about Jungle Book is looking at little wolves talking and stuff in CG. Don't make it live action. I don't even understand the question. It's so silly. I'm casting Adam Sandler and Rob Schneider. Get out of here.
What about like The Incredibles?
No.
Okay. WALL-E?
No.
Yeah, but see how much nicer he got when he said response to Wally?
Wally's a great film.
Thank you.
All of
No.
these are all amazing films that do not need live action versions. People come up with questions like this. You're thinking too weird. I don't even understand. Why
but
would you ever think about
it's
that?
not about that we need one. Is it going to happen?
No.
It's happening.
It's not happening. Pixar?
Oh,
I'm
come
not talking
on.
about animated Mowgli from 50 years ago. I'm talking about like Finding Nemo. You think they're gonna make a live action version
Finding
of
Nemo
that?
is probably the one that would get immediately eliminated because I don't
I'm
think that
pulling
would
that
work
one
as well. I
hard because
really,
that's
I
the
think-
dumbest
I
one I
wouldn't
could
be
I
think
so
think
of.
The
surprised if
Incredibles
Toy
works. I
Story
think Monsters
happened.
Inc. work. Can I interest you in a
Dude,
Brave?
they're making a live action.
No.
They're making a live action Lion King. There are no human
Yeah,
characters
but that's
in there.
like cell animated. This is CG. It's totally different.
Ashley, can you please be the voice of reason here and just be the definitive answer on whether we need live action Pixar movies somewhere down the road?
We absolutely do not. I completely agree with you, Schnepp. That would kill everything.
Someone has
That
got
would
some
kill
sense on this
everything.
panel.
Wow.
Makuga the Thickening.
You know, it took about 40 minutes, but the haters corner is now awake and ready to rock.
Bada bing, bada boom.
Let's move on to live Twitter questions. We're going to take a couple of your live Twitter questions. A close-up shop here. You guys can tweet us anytime at Collider Video. Ashley, what are we looking at today?
How lonely is the haters corner today? I'm picking Twitter questions for Wendy. Like, I feel so lonely.
We can feel the
Anyways,
hate flowing through you.
First question comes from Allie Slate, and they write, "Hey, Collider, if a movie about Collider was greenlit, who would play each of you on the panel?"
Oh, man, I love this question because my answer is very, very easy. If for some reason Topher Grace was offered the role of Mark Ellis and said no for some reason, here's what we can do. I think Justin Timberlake could pull off a convincing Mark Ellis. I think Eminem could maybe stretch his acting chops and be Mark Ellis. Of course, the great actor Brian Vernal, who's Irish, who was in The Force Awakens and is in Dunkirk, is probably going to be the guy that gets the role, but welcome to the club. Jon Schnepp, who's playing you?
Let's see. If it's not the guy who plays Steve Brule, it's going to be Jack Black. It's one of those two. What's up?
John C. Reilly for
Yeah.
Jon Schnepp all day long. Dennis Zen, we're, all of a sudden we got a movie cooking.
I think we've been asked a similar question like this before. I thought I would go more with someone that doesn't look like me, but more like I identify with his Larry David, like his my spirit animal, Larry David.
Okay, we need you to very publicly sign off on Larry David playing you in order to avoid a backlash, but you need to be front and center next to Larry David and you guys shaking hands, and then I'm cool with that. Perri Nemiroff, who is being cast as Long Island's finest.
I know why this question comes to mind for you, and it means if you want to hear more about this, you should probably watch a future episode of Collider Behind the Scenes and Bloopers. But for right now, I need to limit my list to people with bangs because that's what the world tells me. And then I have to go with Constance Zimmer because someone sent me that photo of her once, and I'm like, oh, I see it. I see it a little bit.
Constance Zimmer
Yeah.
is going to be playing Perri Nemiroff. I think we know who's playing Christian. He's a comic that goes by the initials of DC. Ken Knapsack and Mark Riley. Maybe we can give them the Channing Tatum and Jonah Hill roles because we're going to have them in a movie. Makuga, I think we know who's playing Makuga. Martin Lawrence. And then let's go to Ashley Mova. Who do you think would be playing you in a movie about Collider?
Well, I wanted to hear what you had to say about that.
I would be casting to play the role of Ashley Mova.
I was going to say Mindy Kaling because she's tan and hilarious, or Nassim Pedrad from Scream Queens because she's hilarious. She's also on SNL, and she's Persian.
I was going to say Nassim Pedrad might be a good
Good
option.
choice, right?
Met her sister at a bar one time. Very
Really? Was she funny?
nice. Yeah.
All right.
She wasn't trying to be funny. She wasn't like, if you think my sister's good, wait till you see these yucks. She was just, nice person to talk to over there. All right, Ashley, what's our next question?
Rocky Drago writes, is all-female Ocean's 8 doomed to fail at the box office the same way the all-female Ghostbusters did last year?
I do not think so. I don't think that Ocean's 11 has the similarities to the 1984 Ghostbusters. It's a great movie, and I know that a lot of people love Ocean's 11, but I don't think that there's going to be a huge revolt because we're remaking this. Especially, this does take place in the same universe as Ocean's 11, so this is like a relative. I think that Sandra Bullock is like the sister or cousin or something of George Clooney. So I think that this movie and its relation to the Ocean's franchise actually helps its chances of being successful at the box office, whereas I think Ghostbusters, people had very mixed opinions, to say the least, on whether that should even be a project that gets made or not. I think Ocean's is in good hands. I'm actually excited about it. How do you feel, Dennis?
Yeah, I think it has a chance, much more than Ghostbusters. Hopefully there's not that initial hate for the movie before it even comes out. And really, you know, it all comes down to, you know, how good the movie actually is.
Dennis, we don't want to hear that.
Yeah.
Perri Nemiroff.
Yeah, I think this movie actually does have a chance. It's different than Ghostbusters. Yeah, the Ocean movies were very popular, but Ghostbusters has like a pretty significant following, and it is especially near and dear to many people. So I can understand why so many went into that movie being like, I don't want you to ruin what I love so much. And I don't think there's that same attachment to Oceans, especially when you completely overhaul the cast like that. And I hope they just leave it as this new cast and don't bring anyone else back into the mix. But it's in a pretty good position right now in terms of the release calendar. It's the only movie scheduled to come out on June 8th, and the weekend before is Deadpool 2, which, yeah, it can make a lot of money, but I don't think there's enough crossover there for it to take too much away from Ocean's 8 when it comes out. So I think it has a chance.
Dennis thinks it needs to be a good movie. Schnepp, Perri thinks that it's got a good release date. How do you feel about the Ocean's 8 remake?
No, this takes place in the same shared cinematic universe as the other Oceans, right?
Extended universe.
Extended universe. I mean, I think it's not comparable to Ghostbusters. I think, you know, I'm pretty sure that one of them's a cousin of someone else from the original Ocean. So I'm looking forward to it. That it's an all-female cast just makes it even better. It's something different. So I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. And with Sandra Bullock helming a project, I know that it's going to be hopefully a great cast around her, but she is so, I think she's going to crush this. She's got some action chops, but she also is really good in comedic situations. Go see The Heat and then come back and tell me that you don't think Sandra Bullock is going to be fantastic in this movie. That is going to do it for our episode here at Collider Movie Talk. That's going to do it for some of us up here at the panel for the week here in studio, because tomorrow we are taking off for New York City. The Big Apple, very excited to be at Comic-Con this coming weekend. Dennis, where can all the kids find us?
You can find me on Twitter at ThinkHero, on Instagram, Dennis.tzng. And yes, I will be in New York for New York Comic Con. Check us out. We'll be on the floor and also at our meet and greet on Thursday. And we have our panels, Heroes, and Movie Talk.
Going to be a busy day and a busy week. Perri Nemiroff, you excited?
Oh my God, I'm so excited!
Get to go home.
I know New York's my place. It's got a very special place in my heart. I can't wait to go back. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at PNemroff. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Love you all.
Schnepp, what are your favorite kind of meatballs, and are you going to try some of the chicken ones that Perri's recommending for us?
Since I'm a vegetarian, none of them, none of the above.
They
vegetarian
have
meatballs.
A vegetarian option there too.
Well, I'm going to rock those. You can find me at booth 780 in the block at New York Comic Con. I'll be rocking that when I'm not doing the panels for Heroes, Movie Talk, and doing that meet and greet. Can't wait to get sweaty. Come on by. We'll talk about my new comic and a bunch of other stuff.
In the block at Comic-Con just sounds badass, you know?
It's like, a badass area. It's all vinyl toys and just cool stuff. So I'm happy to be around all these other artists. So
good thing to say to women at a bar, you know? Oh, yeah, look for me in the block. Ashley Mova, is that something that would intrigue you, hearing a gentleman was in the block at Comic-Con?
I can't say, because I'm going to be here at this lonely table on Movie Talk tomorrow, so you guys join me there. And you guys can also find me on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, Ashley Mova. Happy Monday, guys.
I am merely Mark Ellis. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to today's episode of Collider Movie Talk. Like I said, you can get tickets to my stand-up shows in New York City at New York Comedy Club Thursday and Friday. Plenty of special guests popping in there as well. MarkEllisLive.com. Use promo code SCHMOES. Hop on there today before those babies sell out. Thank you, guys, and they will see you right here for Collider Movie Talk bright and early tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Hey everybody, Mark Ellis here. Thanks for watching this episode of Collider Movie Talk. You want to watch more? Then click up here, or you can click right here for more great content from Collider. And if you haven't subscribed to Collider Video, do so right now and share this vid with your friends. Thanks for watching.